We had like 1 million views within 24 hours and we basically sold out of our product based on that one video. But even more crazy than that actually is my video that didn't go viral, which is the first video I ever posted about the product. As cool as it is to go viral, that first video hit maybe 10,000 views, but it still drove immediate sales. We were able to get the product in the hands of Kendall Jenner. The last thing I thought would be like getting our product into the hands of one of the most influential influencers ever. We're getting like minimum 1 million views on every video and we're driving all this traffic to the website, but we've got no product. Supply was probably one of the biggest things that nearly broke us. So that was really hard.
Welcome to The Business Game, the show that breaks business down into real levels, from $0 to $200 billion, so founders can see exactly where they are and what comes next. Today's guest is playing at level 2, the early builder stage. At this level, you've proven the model works. Revenue is coming in, but now you're hiring your first team, installing your first systems, and trying to stabilize delivery. The challenges? Letting go of control, managing people for the first time, and moving from chaos to consistency. The goal? Stop doing everything yourself and build a machine that runs with structure, not stress.
I'm Kalina Stano.
And I'm Steve Plummer.
And today we're joined by Sarah Forrai. Sarah is the co-founder of Contour Cube, the viral skincare brand that's exploded across TikTok and global retail. She's turned a 3D printed prototype in her apartment into a product with over 1 billion views online, building a brand in public through content and community.
Now she's navigating the next phase, turning viral momentum into predictable revenue, scaling with a lean team, and building the systems behind a global product business.
Let's dive in with Sarah Forrai. Can you tell us a little bit about Contour Cube and a bit about your journey to getting you here?
Yeah, so Contour Cube is the world's first ice facial tool designed to make icing easy and accessible for everyone. We launched the brand about 5 years ago now, which is really wild to say. And it was very much inspired by my mom. So she loves icing her skin. And so she really got me into it. And I do everything my mom tells me to. So there I was, I ice my skin every day. And I absolutely love the feeling. It like really woke me up in the morning. It helped me like decluff, tighten, and brighten my skin naturally. And I just love the feeling. But the whole process was so awkward, slippery, and messy. Then I thought to myself, surely there's an easier way to do this. So I did my research, and to my surprise, there was literally no product design for the purpose of facial application. So I actually gifted my partner a 3D printer for his birthday, which was a strategic gift.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, it's time to like start using this. Let's like prototype what we think the Contour Cube could be. And we did that over a couple of months until we were happy with what the Contour Cube is today. And we then decided to basically launch the product on TikTok, and it just went crazy viral, and we just didn't expect the engagement that we got from the platform.
Yeah. Wow.
So just on that virality, I'm just curious, how did you achieve it? Did you know what you were going to do was going to go viral? Can you talk us through that whole process?
Yeah, so basically it was like COVID and everyone was on TikTok, and I was an observer of the platform for probably like a year. I was just like, what is this platform? Like, I'm trying to wrap my head around it. And I saw or like fell into this small business community where I could see a lot of brands gaining traction from just sharing their business journey and their business story and how their products came to be. And you could see the comments just going crazy. Like, where can I buy this? How can I get my hands on this? And that's when I was like, wow, like you can create a video and drive so much like demand for something. Like, this is kind of where I would want to launch a product if I had an idea. So that's kind of where it started. And when we finally had the idea for Contour Cube, I was very much inspired by this candle business. It's called Hoodies. And his videos were popping up on my For You page a lot. And I was like, wow, this video is great. It was very simple. It was like how I started my business. And it was like a montage style video of him bringing his brand to life. And I was like, this is a piece of viral content that I feel like I could create. So I was like, if I was to look at this video and break it down frame by frame by frame, how could I do that my way? So I basically, still to this day, kind of look at content as like pieces of inspiration, and things that have gone viral are basically indications of that content is working for other people. And you could use at least the format or elements of that video in your video to also achieve that virality. So basically used his video as inspiration, created a similar video of how I started the business, and that went crazy viral. We had like 1 million views within 24 hours, and we basically sold out of our product based on that one video. But even more crazy than that actually is my video that didn't go viral, which is the first video I ever posted about the product. Because as cool as it is to go viral, that first video hit maybe 10,000 views, but it still drove immediate sales.
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, oh my God, like I've just created like trust between some people, like through a video where I'm just standing in my living room holding a product that they've never seen before, to drive them to a website that wasn't contourecube.com at the time. So it looked kind of sus, but they still like, you know, went to go and purchase the product. So I think that that's still really crazy to me.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And I'm curious, was there someone famous who may have gotten their hands on your
name
content?
dropping you? Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I think through that crazy virality, we were able to get the product in the hands of Kendall Jenner, which was really crazy. Woke up one morning, my phone was going nuts, and my friends were like, I wish you were awake right now. And then I like looked at my phone and I was like, the first thing I thought was like, it could have been a viral TikTok video. It could have been a PR article, because that were the key things at the time that were driving like sales. But the last thing I thought would be like getting our product into the hands of one of the most influential influencers ever. So yeah, like her Instagram, she like posted a story of her holding the product, and it said something like love this for my morning ice facials. And I think I peaked in life that day.
Amazing. Yeah, I couldn't even, I remember seeing that video. Like I remember seeing her using it, and I thought, oh my gosh, whoever's product that is an incredible moment.
Yeah, it was wild. Yeah. We had a lot of organic PR come from that as well. Just like, oh, Hollywood life, and like just heaps of articles being like, you know, yeah, she's like Kendall Jenner is using this, you know, small Aussie brand's product. And actually a year after that, we got approached by Poosh. So Poosh is Kourtney Kardashian's e-com platform where she curates a lot of like her favorite products. And so we got an email saying, oh, do you guys ship within the US? And we're like, yeah, we do. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like maybe we'll get onboarded onto Poosh. But actually, every year the Poosh has a Kardashian Jenner gift guide where all the sisters plus Chris pick one gift of choice that they choose for the year to like as a gift recommendation. And Kendall chose Contour Cube as her gift of choice. So like specifically asked for the product, and like again, like was like pinch me moment, and everyone was calling Kendall like this economic queen because it was like one of like the most affordable things on the list, which was pretty cool as well.
Yeah, that's incredible. Congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah. You mentioned, so you mentioned that you managed to get the product in her hands. Did that happen by accident, or did you guys engineer it behind the scenes? And what I'm thinking about, anyone listening who's got a product and wants to leverage the power of social media, how do you get it into the hands of an influential person so it can do that? Can you talk us through that little part of the puzzle?
Yeah, it was completely organic. I still to this day have no idea how she got my hands on the product. I'm like, did she see a viral video? Like that's what I put it down to, like the virality we were seeing. And possibly she bought it or someone gifted it to her. But I think because she is that kind of like wellness creator, wellness is very important to her. She's not only using it as like a facial tool, but something to help her feel grounded. So I would say like, if you're creating content, create content around maybe who you're trying to target. So another thing, for example, that happened to us was Lisa Eldridge. She's a celebrity makeup artist in the UK, also organically posted about the Contour Cube on her YouTube channel, which drove a lot of traffic onto our website as well. And what she loves, which she organically posted about before our product existed, was her love of ice facials and different ingredients that you could create with it. So she actually has a dedicated YouTube where she talks about green tea ice facials, rose water ice facials, lemon ice facials, and all the benefits around that. And funnily enough, I create content inspired by that, but also to share with my community of, you can create a rose water ice facial, you can create a similar thing like a green tea ice facial. So I would say, like, if there's something that that specific influencer or celebrity does that you can incorporate into your content that they can resonate with, then that's how I would like structure the content.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you.
So following on from that, so after having the Contour Cube go viral, behind the scenes, how messy does that look? I imagine it'd be pretty chaotic, and you get all these messages, but then there's a flow on of people ordering and all that sort of stuff. So how are you turning that into predictable revenue?
Yeah, that was the most difficult part. I think not knowing how much stock to have, and the fact that we were kind of constantly selling out, and then building a lot of the momentum and not knowing whether to continue that momentum. So there was one point in time where I'm like, we're posting so much content. This is great. We're getting like minimum 1 million views on every video, and we're driving all this traffic to the website, but we've got no products. So I was like, maybe we should just like pull back on like posting on socials, because I just like don't want them to kind of go to the website and have nothing to buy. But then I quickly realized, I don't know how long this momentum is going to last. We should have a pop-up on our website just so that people can sign up to the email, add to our email list. So, once we're back in stock, they can purchase. So we were able to collate like 20,000 email subscribers before we got back into stock. So again, once we were able to get stock in, we kind of did an email blast, quickly became out of stock again. So it was kind of this vicious cycle, and it was really, really difficult. I think till this day, it's quite difficult to understand what's going to go viral, what's going to spike sales. I think the only thing that really we got out of it was like knowing maybe which colorway would be, the most popular, what colorway we can back more in terms of stock. But yeah, it was very difficult to kind of navigate that because we weren't set up for mass production at the time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. Can you take us back for a moment before Contour Cube blew up? What were you stuck on, and what wasn't working, to get the momentum going?
Before we started the brand, actually started another business. And it was for hand sanitizer. And we were stuck on a couple of things with that business, which kind of gave us a few learnings for Contour Cube. So we were stuck on like advertising for hand sanitizer. We couldn't do that at the time. We were stuck with like it being a flammable product, so we couldn't ship globally. So when we kind of like got learnings from that, we were like, okay, we got to make sure that when we come up with another product, we want it to be compact. We want it to be able to be shipped everywhere. And so that, once we were able to create Contour Cube, that's kind of what we had in mind. But I think it was kind of a similar thing. It was kind of just not being set up for mass production. So we didn't realize we were going to go viral, didn't have the sort of like logistics piece or mass production set up to be able to like meet demand. So there were chunks of time where people were waiting for the product, which kind of stressed me out because I was like, I don't want people to get frustrated and like not get their hands on the product. So yeah, I think that was kind of the key thing there.
Yeah. And in all of that, was there a moment of doubt that something relatively, and that's the genius of it, right? It's so simple. So was there a moment of doubt that can something so simple work? And if it's so simple, can someone steal the idea? Did you go through that process as well?
Yeah, I did. I felt like, so I would discuss kind of my ideas with the family, and I feel like my dad is a lawyer and he's kind of like that devil's advocate, and he's like, is anyone really gonna buy this? And I was like, I think there's demand for it. I can see it online. I can see people icing their faces. I think there's something here. But it wasn't like a huge investment where we're putting like heaps of capital in something. It was something we were able to test demand first on like, quite a small scale. So I think the fact that we were able to do that and test demand and actually prove that there was demand and then move forward with the product, was a good thing. I know things, can get copied quite easily. I always look up to the Beauty Blender, and I'm like, if she can exist with all her, copycats, then I can too. So yeah, I guess that's what helped me kind of push through.
And how do you combat that? Because, I jumped online and had a quick look, and I did see some of the more, I won't name them, but some of those major retailers are obviously sort of selling your product, but under a different
The budget retailers.
Yes. And, how does that impact your business? How are you, is it because of the community that you've built, do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, like brand really wins.
Yeah.
We are focusing on the whole eye spatial ecosystem. Brands might have it as an add-on to their product because they can see that it is a popular product. But yeah, we're not just thinking about the one product. It's great to see that has got us there, but I think continuing to innovate is where we win. We've got the original, we've got the mini, which we, as you mentioned, grew with created with our community. So we always have this like open feedback with our community, and they tell us what they want us to create. So the next thing we created was like our gua sha shaped contour cube, which has been like our next most popular product, which we co-created with our community. And then just thinking like beyond the product, like we created freezable serums, like on the back of people loving freezing their natural ingredients in the cube. So we've gone to Korea. We've actually met with our manufacturers this year. We just came back from that trip. And we created 2 freezable serums. One's an aloe one, one's a rose one, which is now our most popular bundle with the contour cube and the freezable serum. So you've got active skincare ingredients plus the cube. And then we've also gone down the route of like chilled skincare, looking at the whole eye spatial ecosystem and seeing like, how can we grow the brand? Very niche, but specific to chilled skincare.
Amazing. So going from a 3D printed prototype in your apartment to global distribution, I want to lean into that a little bit. And for any of our listeners who, might have a physical product out there, but have no idea how to take it global, can you tell us about that journey and share some insights with them?
Yeah, I think really the journey of going global really started on TikTok because we were able to reach a global audience from day one. So we weren't just like shipping within Australia. We were really like going viral in the US. And we were able to kind of review all like where our audience was coming from. And because a lot of our time was getting taken up by like literally just packing orders every day, we were like, okay, how do we like free up our time so that we can work on the business and grow it rather than being like, founders just like packing orders. So that's when we reviewed like the biggest chunk of our audience is coming from the US. So we really need to set up a 3PL in the US. So that's the first thing that we did. And then the next biggest audience is Australia. So then we set one up here and then the UK. So we had 3PL set up and warehouses set up in all those countries, which really helped with freeing up our time and just knowing that those orders are getting out really quickly. The other thing that we had, which is why I always rave about like just post on socials because you never know who's watching, is like buyers are on the platform, and we got approached by so many like different retailers to get stocked on those platforms. So in the US, in the UK, they were coming to us and we were getting onboarded onto, the Urban Outfitters of the world, Anthropologie, Priceline here in Australia. It was a very cool time. So just being able to team up with different retailers to get your, products onto shelves, get them on, online, so that, there's more visibility on the product, but also a lot of credibility by teaming up with those retailers. And the third thing, which is like the thing that I kind of kick myself the most about is Amazon. So I didn't want to go on Amazon for the longest time because I was like, it's not my brand. It's like a drop shipping platform. It's going to like degrade the brand in a way. But I should have gone on there sooner because I was driving so much traffic to Amazon regardless that I should have had a presence there from day one. So Amazon US reached out to us and they're like, you need to get stocked on here, get your stock on ASAP because your drive, like we can see that contour cube is trending so much that you need to like get stocked on Amazon. So yeah, I think that would be one thing that I would recommend as well. If you are having an audience, especially in the US, get stocked on there. We obviously have it here in Australia as well. So yeah, expanding your 3PL retailers and like marketplaces like Amazon would really help with that global presence.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Amazon is I think in Australia, we don't quite use it as much, but I know in the US, it's everything to them. But it's just like, well,
yeah, I show up in the cult.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just getting Amazon.
Yeah. Everything's on there. Like, it's where we go now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. So can you share some insights about getting in with those big retailers? Because that can be a real challenge at times. So based on your experience, what insights have you got about how to do that if you've got a product?
We were able to get a lot of the attention and prove demand for the product and whatnot through social. So I think one of the things which probably wasn't something that people look at or retailers look at in the past is actually your social channels and your social presence. So when we build a pitch deck, we make sure to like include like all of our socials in there, any like PR, key milestones. But basically it's being able to drive that much attention on socials to be able to get that buyer's attention, or creating a really, really amazing brand deck to actually just cold email some of these buyers. We have found some buyers through LinkedIn. I think that's actually where I first reached out to Priceline, to kind of like get in front of them, get a meeting with them. And you actually just never know when is the right time to reach out. So I think don't stress about if your business needs to be at a certain stage. Just kind of get in front of the buyer and they will be like keeping your brand at the back of their mind. And when that kind of category decides they need more accessories in the beauty space, ContourCube will come to mind like from the get-go. So I feel like, yeah, don't be shy to think that you're not ready to reach out, but continue to reach out because you never know, like, yeah, when that buyer is going to want to, onboard your brand. So clear pitch deck, I feel like you can build that today. Try to get as much visibility, whether that's on socials or through PR, because we were lucky enough to use our socials to get in like organic PR and therefore be able to add that to our pitch deck. And yeah, just reach out to like make a list of retailers that you want to reach out to and then just like start adding them on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
With the social media stuff, I'm curious, were you just posting, just kind of like point and shoot, or did you map out a content plan and go with, because there's obviously like funnels and all that sort of stuff. Sometimes people can make it quite complicated, and depending on what you're offering, it can be important. Is that something that you did, or did you just kind of just jump in and have a crack?
Yeah, I think it was kind of a mixture of both. It was kind of just jumping in, getting an understanding of what is working. And I think the biggest thing with content is kind of test and learn. And once you realize one specific format or a way of doing, or like the way you tell a story is working, you want to double down and tell that story over and over again. I think something that I probably should have done more is like once a story, like my brand story worked so well, I thought, oh my gosh, everyone has seen my brand story now. I can no longer speak of it. But then I'm like, actually, no, I need to like basically cut that piece of content in 100 different ways and tell that story over and over again, because you're not actually getting that content shown to the same audience. It's getting shown to a different audience every time. So it's okay to be repetitive. And there may be another way you say something, a different hook of saying something or doing something visually that will work, that you can use again and again and again. So yeah, a lot of the content that we create now, we're kind of a little bit more intentional, and we're like, okay, well, we need to be talking about, educational content, inspirational content, which is our story, and then jumping on the trends to show our personality. So I think there's a lot more that goes in it now than what I was doing then. It was a lot more experimental, but I think it definitely helps. Like you want to continue experimenting to figure out what works. And like with the emergence of things like Instagram Reels, where you can post on trials, if you're scared to test something that you've never posted before, you can chuck it up on trial reels and have that content tested without your main audience seeing it. So that way you don't have to worry about whether or not that content's going to resonate or not, because it's kind of being posted to all non-followers that, you can test that content on.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that.
It's a really good example of that age-old marketing maxim that you get sick of telling your story long before the market gets sick of hearing it, right? And that's I think that's yeah.
That's so true. Yeah, I felt like a lot of people have said, like, once you nail your brand story, that's basically your marketing strategy for the next 5 years. Let's keep talking about it over and over again.
Yeah. Hey guys, just a quick break to thank our affiliate partner, HubSpot. We are thrilled to announce our partnership with HubSpot, the ultimate all-in-one CRM platform. HubSpot helps you streamline marketing, sales, and customer service with powerful tools to grow your business faster. From lead generation to automations, it's got you covered. By using the link in the description, you not only get to start your HubSpot journey for free, but you'll also be supporting our work here on the show. Now it's back to today's episode.
Yeah.
All righty. So you've got demand, you've got attention. What's the part of this level 2 in business that you're at that people watching from the outside would have no idea that's actually hard? Because you've gone from that frantic startup phase, now you're international. So what's going on behind the scenes that's actually really hard for you at the moment?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think like from the outside, people see the demand and they see the views and they see the momentum and assume like, oh, you've made it. Everything gets easier from here. But honestly, I think this stage is probably one of the hardest because you're no longer trying to prove demand and you don't really see the pressure of like trying to scale the brand with like while building infrastructure and the team and cash flow. And then you're also trying to figure out the strategy to support that demand and also stay creative at the same time. Because like being the face of the brand as well is just a whole job in itself.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing that people don't really see. Like,
And was there something that nearly broke for either you or the business along this journey? So when things sort of started taking off, was it supply, cash flow, or just keeping up with the demand?
yeah, I think supply was probably one of the biggest things that nearly broke us. I think we just didn't have enough stock to keep up with the level of demand. And once we sold through, there was kind of that long wait until we could get the stock back again. So that was really hard. Obviously, when the momentum is there and you want to be able to meet it. And instead, it felt like we were constantly just trying to play catch up. So, I mean, at the same time, it's a really good problem to have. But yeah, it was quite stressful to not have that supply chain like set up from the get go because obviously we didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to circle back to something you said earlier around this topic. You said that you had about like 20,000 people sign up to your email list, obviously wanting to be on the wait list for when you're restocked. How did that convert when you obviously restocked? You said you ran out of stock pretty quickly. Did that 20,000 or roughly close to respond to your emails and jump straight to purchasing?
It was very hot leads.
Wow.
Like you could see as soon as we sent the email, they jumped on the website. We saw that quite quickly, especially because we had the one color that we launched with, but when we came back into stock and, there was a bit of that waiting time, we decided to do 2 more colors. So there was actually more of like a range for people to choose from. So yeah, it was interesting to see like those colors actually completely sell out quite quickly just from that one email. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah.
Sometimes I think that almost can work in your favor, is if you've got this wait list, and people are like, "Oh, I've got to wait for this now." I'm like, the taste is sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the thing, it's like, oh God, I don't have my hands on it. What? I have to wait. Okay, well, I definitely have to get it once they're back in stock.
Yeah. So it's like very urgent. Whereas if it's there, it's like, oh, I'll come back. Maybe I don't need this. I'll come back tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sarah, you've built this very, I guess, in public brand. And how has that changed the way you think as a founder versus as just a creator?
Yeah, I think building in public has definitely changed the way I think, because as a founder, especially when you're the face of the brand, it's no longer just about you as a creator. I feel like your personal brand becomes closely tied to the business, and kind of like what you say or what you put out there can directly affect how people see the brand as a whole. So I think that makes it a lot more vulnerable. And I think as a creator, like you can post something, it kind of just reflects you. Whereas as a founder, every piece of content can shape the perception of the company, for better or for worse. So I think it just kind of makes me a lot more aware of like how I show up, what I'm sharing, and the kind of image that I'm building, not just for myself, but for the brand as a whole.
Yeah. Right. And speaking of that leadership and how you're showing up, you were on Shark Tank, and we've had quite a few guests who are on Shark Tank, and we've learned quite a lot about the person and about what it takes to be prepared. Can you talk us through your Shark Tank experience and even what you learned about yourself in that process?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was a really wild experience. I was very happy to have done it with my partner. I applied for the show not knowing that if it would ever come back to Australia, because it hadn't been around for like 5 years. And I was like, I'm just going to put my email here and just like forget about it, because I was really obsessed with the idea of getting on the show. And then like 6 months later, I got an email saying, oh, by the way, we've got a show coming up. You've put in your interest, you want to apply. At the time, we were like extremely busy. We were trying to like fulfill like retail orders and things like that. So my partner was literally like, stop getting distracted, like stop wasting time. And I was like, I think this is what I think it is. And I think it'll be really great. We prepared for the show like really hardcore. Like I had my brother as like a pseudo shark asking like the meanest questions just so that we could like mentally prepare. We also like played the Shark Tank like YouTube sound like in the background and like practice like walking on the stage and stuff. Anyway, we went like through this whole thing of like really just like making sure we knew everything about like our pitch. I would randomly turn to Lewis like throughout the day and just be like, hi, my name is Sarah. And he'd be like, and my name's Lewis, just like catch him off guard. And like we'd do the whole pitch from start to finish and just be like, okay, cool. Like, you know, we can't stuff this up kind of thing because that's like the one thing we can control. But yeah, we basically just practiced the pitch and as many questions as we possibly could. You also have to submit a business plan, which was quite interesting and like just a good thing for us to do, just to kind of go through the business. And, you know, yeah, it was just a good exercise to do. We weren't expecting the outcome that we got on the show. Like we were like, oh, hopefully we can get like one shark interested, but to get 4 out of the 5 sharks wanting to invest in the brand was like a huge deal for us. We were just like, oh my God, these like business moguls want to like invest in the brand. So we must be doing something right. So that was really cool. And obviously after the show, we were able to like work a bit with the sharks and like we were in Davey's mentorship program for a while, which was quite cool just to like build your network of other like business owners. So yeah, the experience was overall very stressful, obviously. But I think like we just grew a lot from it.
Yeah. In what ways did you grow?
I guess just the idea of like growing our network was really great. I think meeting the other entrepreneurs and also being like able to speak to the sharks was like a really big deal for us. I think just knowing that the brand has legs and that the sharks wanted to invest in the brand was just like kind of meant a lot to us. Because sometimes you can second guess yourself and be like, oh my gosh, is this actually like a brand that we should continue pursuing or not? But yeah, I think just having them back us was kind of just the thing that we needed at the time.
Oh, wow.
And how many hours do you think you put into preparing for it?
So we got told maybe like a month out that like we should start preparing for the show, but there was no like 100% you're going to be on it. They only told us that we would be on the show 2 weeks out of airing, or recording, filming. So like a part of me was like, I don't really want to like practice for something that might not happen. But another part of me was like, no, I need to practice something like in case this does happen. So we probably spent like about a month, just like, you know, first 2 weeks, maybe like minimally like thinking about it, writing the pitch, and then like hardcore 2 weeks, just like binge watching all the Shark Tank like ones in Australia and the US and like practicing our pitch. And we also were able to help design like what our display looked like, which was quite cool. So we created like a mock-up of like what we would want it to look like, and then the team actually helped us bring that whole setup to life, which was cool.
Oh, fun. That would have been a cool experience.
Yeah.
You said that you had to do a business plan for the Shark Tank. Did you not do a business plan before you started?
No.
Oh, that's true. I
Really
think there's a lot of business owners that don't, and then they sort of something happens and they go, oh, I have, and it is a really important exercise, and it can actually show you a lot about what your brand stands for and your business and how it all sort of translates. So, I just wanted to.
Because it's interesting. There's many paths to success and many ways.
Absolutely.
To yeah. It's a really interesting question about, do you just throw all your energy in? Do you plan it out beforehand, or is there a combination of both of them?
Yeah. So
Sure.
what have you, so what have you had to sort of stop or start doing to keep this business moving forward, do you think?
I think I definitely had to start doubling down on content. I think that was the real main driver of like getting brand awareness, getting the sales, and like, you know, for the first 6 months, we didn't have any paid ad spend at all. It was just all purely organic. I was doing a lot of the stuff myself. So I think one of the key things that I stopped doing was editing my own content, just to get more content out there. I think, yeah, we could fall into the trap of just kind of doing everything, filming everything, editing everything. But, sometimes a lot, like I would say even like 90% of like your content can come from just editing. Like you can have a lot of B-roll, but like when the editing comes in, that can like literally make or break a video. So I stopped editing. I found an editor, which actually took some time. I went on Behance, Behance, I think it's behance.net. And that's where you can find loads of different kind of creatives, including video editors, and you can filter by country and find a lot of different editors there. Kind of,
Amazing.
find like the best buyer from that platform. So I think that was one of the things that I thought really freed up a lot of my time as well.
Like further along on that leadership evolution process, Sarah, so at this stage of the business, what does being the CEO actually mean for you versus just being the person who makes everything happen?
Yeah, I think a CEO kind of means kind of stepping back and making sure I'm focused on the things that actually move the business forward rather than just reacting to the day to day. I think in the early stages, obviously you're that person that makes everything happen because you have to be. But as the business grows, being a CEO is more about setting the direction, making the right decisions, and like keeping like the team focused on what matters most. So I think for me, it was like constantly just asking the question, like, what is actually going to drive growth? And what needs my attention the most, and where can I add the most value? So less about doing every little thing, and more about making sure the business is moving in the right direction. We did this thing actually where, because you can get caught up in doing everything, where we had this like piece of paper and we wrote down every 15 minutes what we were working on and like the dollar value of that task. And I think that really, really helped. Just like looking at like every 15 minutes, wrote it down. By the end of the day, I was like, okay, half of these admin tasks are like a single dollar value that is not adding, like is not helping the business grow. So therefore we need, to hire someone to help us, take off the admin load, So I think that's kind of a good task to do.
Yeah, that's a great exercise.
Yeah. And in that journey of now being the CEO, have you had moments of self-doubt? And if so, how have you dealt with those?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, luckily I have my partner with me who like likes to talk me out of like all my self-doubt. But I think about like kind of like how far I've come. I think even doing podcasts like this makes me like kind of remember where I've come from and how far we've come and like the crazy, amazing milestones we've been able to achieve. But yeah, I think even like just knowing the community that we've built, has been really helpful because sometimes I'm kind of like, what do I even launch next? And I've been able to use that community to kind of help us with like the next iteration of where the brand should go, but with our community.
Every founder and CEO always has some problem that they're working on at any moment. What problem are you working through right now?
I think the main one is probably just like focus. Like I keep coming back to the fact that there's really just two major things that I really need to be focusing on right now, which is like new product development and marketing. And we need to keep like the brand exciting with newness into the brand, but at the same time, we also want to continue telling like our story well and strengthen our marketing, and make sure that sales funnel is working. So for me, I think it's really about staying disciplined and making sure that those areas are getting the most attention. I think what's been really powerful, I just touched on, is that we've been able to use our community to actually help guide that process, especially when it comes to new product development. So basically accidentally started a series where I said, guys, like, what do you think we should launch next? And we had like the most amount of engagement I've gotten in a long time. Just being like, this is what you should launch kind of thing. Collated it all with AI, narrowed it down to two main, product ideas, and then got our community to vote on like, two ideas. And then, I said, if you want us to really bring this product to life, we need 1,000 people to comment Korea and we'll go to Korea and make it happen. We had 6,000 people vote to go to Korea. And we're like, okay, I guess we'll go Asia. So yeah, so just been to Korea to kind of like deep dive into the two kind of products that we're building together.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk next about systems and structures that you've built. So what was, I guess, the one thing, whether it was a hire, a system, or even a bottleneck you cleared that actually unlocked the momentum to take Contour Cube from prototype to the global brand it is today?
I think the one thing would probably be our 3PL and just getting that distribution set up properly. I think in the early days, we were like packing orders ourselves, and that quickly became like the bottleneck. And it was taking so much time and energy, and like, I guess that's not kind of where we're best placed as founders. So I think our time would be better spent kind of like building the brand, creating the content, and then improving production and focusing on growth. But once we moved to 3PL, and started setting up distribution across multiple regions, it completely changed what was like kind of possible for us. So it meant we could get orders out more efficiently. We could serve to a global audience, and stop being held back by that operational fulfillment. So I think that was like our biggest turning point, because it allowed us to kind of operate at a bigger scale rather than just like constantly trying to keep up with packing orders.
Yeah, sure. So looking ahead, what would you say is your dream hire? So, what role would you like to hire next to most ease the pressure in your business?
I think a dream hire would be like a chief strategy officer type role, or like a senior strategic growth leader who could help really guide the business through the next phase of growth. I think we're at a stage where there are so many opportunities in front of us, but it's like the real challenge is knowing what to prioritize and like where to place our energy to create the biggest impact. So I think having the right person at that level would help us make like bigger, smarter moves faster and take a lot of pressure off of us. Like, yeah, like getting here was just a massive learning curve, and you're kind of just like learning everything along the way. But like having someone senior come in to really help, like with the direction of the business, I think would be my dream hire at this point.
Yeah, sure. Sort of like a COO. Sort of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And is that on the horizon, do you think? Are you close?
You know what? We've been like really lucky to have been able to meet a lot of other founders and kind of like learn from each other. So there's so many like groups that we're part of now, like WhatsApp groups and like friends that we met along the way who have given us so much like what we like basically share, just like how each other is growing and stuff like that. So I think like the resources that we have just by speaking to other brands is great. But definitely like actively looking.
Yeah, awesome. It seems like you're really leaning into community, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah. Alrighty, let's talk cheat codes. Everyone wants shortcuts, the
We
magic
do.
pill. Come on, hit us with a few cheat codes if you can here, Sarah. So if someone was trying to build a product brand today, what is the cheat code you think most people completely miss? And what advice would you give?
I think the biggest cheat code is using social media as a testing ground before you even fully launch anything. So you can literally build an audience for free and validate the demand in real time instead of spending months and months developing a product. You can basically share the idea, share a story, and see how people will respond straight away. And I guess at the end of the day, that's kind of what we did with ContourCube without even realizing it. So we launched a really small batch, minimal investment, tested it on a completely cold audience, and from our very first video had people purchasing the product. And then obviously immediately, that told us that there was demand. So I think instead of guessing, you can use content as a way to prove the idea before you go all in. And I think that's a really big, powerful advantage that people kind of maybe overlook. I've even seen brands on TikTok, like there was an account and it was called Behind Four, like Phore. And she was creating a phone case from scratch. And all she had was a 3D printed prototype, similar to us. But she had a 3D printed prototype. She's like, hey guys, I'm making this 3D printed prototype with like this case so I can attach my lip gloss and have my cards in it, blah, blah, blah. But she didn't have a product. She was just literally talking about her prototype. And she had so many people backing her. And like, she was just taking people along the journey step by step of like, what colors should we launch? And like, I guess I'm just using that to your advantage to be able to build with your community. And that was like her first ever video. She was able to like garner that much attention from a prototype. And I think even with AI these days, you can come up with little AI imagery of like what a product could look like and talk through that and see if people would be interested.
Yeah.
Wow.
And just on that, we hear a lot about vanity metrics like, like likes and shares. You mentioned, you did some social media stuff, but it turned into sales. Is that an important part of the or is it enough just to be a little bit viral and to be popular? What's your take on that?
I think social media is more about sort of like that brand awareness piece. Like, I don't think anyone would know about our brand without us like being on socials first. And I think the beauty of marketing is being able to capture someone's attention organically first, and then maybe later down the line hitting them with a paid ad, rather than the first touch point of your brand being like this paid ad where you're trying to sell to them. But having that thing where they're like, oh my God, I've seen your brand before. You're so funny, or you were so relatable and shareable, whatever, that like, I do remember this brand. It is like building a relationship. I think that's what social media is. You want to like get to know the person, they get to know you before they commit to really purchasing something. I mean, obviously if it drives, immediate sales, that's awesome. But I think, it's more about kind of building that brand awareness, as a tool to kind of get the brand out there first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice, because it's more like the paid ad could be a reminder of the brand that you followed and you really liked, rather than that first touch point that can feel a little bit like, oh, you're asking something of me and I have no idea.
Oh, no. Yeah, so true. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really interesting all through our discussion here today. So you've mentioned the importance of brand and the strength of the brand. And it's like the brand has carried you through and sandbagged you against competitors and all of those sorts of things. So that's a really big takeaway for you, isn't it? Is build the brand and build strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, anyone can sell a product. Like, literally anyone can make something. They can copy something or they can jump on a trend. But I think what makes people come back again and again is trust. And like, they trust the reputation of the brand. They trust the quality. They actually trust that what they're buying is actually safe and does what it's going to do. And I think for us, that's been really important, because we've designed everything from scratch, and like, as minimal and simplistic as a product looks, it took ages to actually get the product right. So all these little details, working with the right factories, making sure our products are actually safe to use on your skin, like BPA free, FDA approved, being compliant with formulas and stuff. So I think, brand wins, because you're not just selling one product, you're building a whole world that people want to keep buying into. So, I think that's why we've kind of expanded into not just the tool, but like freezable serums and moisturizers, and just thinking about the whole chilled skincare routine.
Yeah. We're coming to the close. Before we jump into the quickfire round, I just have a quick question. So if nothing changes, say if revenue doesn't become predictable and you stay this lean, what do you think actually breaks first in your business?
I think it would be cash flow, and then not having the cash flow to then like put into stock, and then to put into newness and R&D, and then paying your staff. So I think it would be cash flow if you don't have that like predictable revenue stream.
Yeah, absolutely.
All righty, quick fire round.
Yeah, let's do it.
All righty. So one of the things we like to do with our guests is to shoot 10 questions at you really quickly. And the purpose of it is to get to know the person behind the microphone just a little bit deeper. So are you ready to go, Sarah? Ready for some quick fire questions, a sentence or a word or two for each of them?
Probably not. No, yes, I am.
All right, we're going there anyway.
All right, so I'll start. Okay, Are you Android or iPhone?
iPhone.
Okay, what's your coffee order?
Oh, a chai latte.
Nice. Office or work from home?
Work from home.
What was your first job?
A graphic designer.
One piece of tech that you couldn't live without?
CapCut.
Oh, okay, wow. All right, early riser or night owl?
Early riser.
What's your go-to productivity hack?
Using Notion to like plan my life.
The best investment you've ever made?
Starting a business. Just loading everything along the way.
What's your book or podcast recommendation?
For this one,
Answer.
Great.
Female Startup Club. I love the Female Startup Club podcast.
Okay.
If you weren't doing what you do now, what career would you choose?
That's a really good question. You know what? After the experience I have, I've actually grown to love content creation so much. I'd probably just do content creation full time.
There you go.
Wow.
All right. And final question. If business truly is a game, Sarah Forrai, how do you define winning?
I think winning is building a brand that people genuinely love and trust. So I think at the end of the day, as we've talked about, I think brand wins. But also winning is creating something that gives me freedom. So building a business that can stand on its own 2 feet without needing me in it every day.
Yeah. Great answer. Well, where can our listeners find you online?
They can find us at contourcube.com, and they can find us on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram at contourcube.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation. I've learned so much about content creation and the online world. So that's all we've got time for. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to The Business Game and check out our playlist for the level of business you're currently playing at.
Because every founder is somewhere on the game board, from 0 all the way to $200 billion.
Choose your level, and we'll see you next time.
This is the